JATAKA number 24. Ajna JATAKA. No matter when or where. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery about another brother who gave up persisting in path. But, in this case, he addressed that brother and said, "Brethren, in past days the wise and good still persisted in path even when wounded." And, so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, there were 7 kings who surrounded the city, just as in the previously mentioned story. So a warrior who fought from a chariot harnessed 2 sindh horses, and, swiftly moving from the city, broke down 6 camps and captured 6 kings. Just at this juncture the elder horse was wounded. On drove the charioteer till he reached the king's gate, where he took the elder brother out of the chariot, and, after unfastening the horse's armour as he lay upon one side, set to work to arm another horse. Realizing the warrior's intent, the bodhisattva had the same thoughts pass through his head as in the previously mentioned story, and sending for the charioteer, repeated this stanza, as he lay. No matter when or where, in welfare or suffering, the thoroughbred fights on. The other gives in. The charioteer had the bodhisattva set on his feet and harnessed. Then he broke down the 7th camp and took prisoner the 7th king, with whom he drove away to the king's gate, and there took out the noble horse. As he lay upon one side, the bodhisattva gave the same advices to the king as in the previously mentioned story, and then expired. The king had the body burned with all respect, lavished honors on the charioteer, and after ruling his kingdom in righteousness passed away to fare thereafter according to his deeds. His lesson ended, the master preached the truths one arhatship/enlightenment. And identified the birth by saying, the elder monk Ananda was the king, and the perfect Buddha was the horse of those days. JATAKA number 25. Tit the JATAKA. Change you the spot. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery, about an ex-goldsmith, who had become a brother and was co-resident with the captain of the faith. Now, it is only a Buddha who has knowledge of the hearts and can read the thoughts of men. And therefore through lack of this power, the captain of the faith had so little knowledge of the heart and thoughts of his co-resident, as to prescribe impurity as the theme for meditation. This was no good to that brother. The reason why it was no good to him was that, according to tradition, he had invariably been born, throughout 500 successive births, as a goldsmith. And, consequently, the cumulative effect of seeing absolutely pure gold for so long a time had made the theme of impurity useless. He spent 4 months without being able to get so much as the first hint of the idea. Finding himself unable to confer arhatship on his co-resident, the captain of the faith thought to himself, this must certainly be one whom none but a Buddha can convert. I will take him to the Buddha. So at early dawn he came with the brother to the master. What can it be, Sariputra, said the master, that has brought you here with this brother? Sir, I gave him a theme for meditation, and after 4 months he has not attained to so much as the first hint of the idea. So I brought him to you, thinking that here was one whom none but a Buddha can convert. What meditation, Sariputra, did you prescribe for him? The meditation on impurity, Lord Buddha. Sariputra, it is not yours to have knowledge of the hearts and to read the thoughts of men. Depart now alone, and in the evening come back to fetch your co-resident. After thus dismissing the elder monk, the master had that brother clad in a nice undercloth and a robe, kept him constantly at his side when he went into town for alms, and saw that he received choice food of all kinds. Returning to the monastery once more, surrounded by the brethren, the master retired during the daytime to his perfumed chamber. And at evening, as he walked about the monastery with that brother by his side, he made a pond appear and in it a great clump of lotuses out of which grew a great lotus flower. Sit here, brother, he said, and gaze at this flower. And, leaving the brother seated thus, he retired to his perfumed chamber. That brother gazed and gazed at that flower. The Lord Buddha made it decay. As the brother looked at it, the flower in its decay faded. The petals fell off, beginning at the rim, till in a little while all were gone. Then the central stamens fell away, and only the walls was left. As he looked, that brother thought within himself, even now, this lotus flower was lovely and fair. Yet its color is gone, and only the wall is left standing. Decay has come upon this beautiful lotus. What may not happen to my body? Transitory are all worldly things. And with the thought he won insight. Knowing that the brother's mind had risen to insight, the master, seated as he was in his perfumed chamber, sent a radiant resemblance/vision of himself there, and uttered this stanza. Pick out self-love, as with the hand you pick the autumn water lily. Set your heart on nothing but this, the perfect path of peace. And that path to salvation/nirvana from rebirths. By meditation and righteousness, which the Buddha has taught. At the close of this stanza, that brother won arhatship. At the thought that he would never be born again, never be troubled with existence in any shape hereafter, he burst into a heartfelt utterance beginning with these stanzas. He who has lived his life, whose thought is ripe. He who, from all defilements purged and free, wears his last body. He whose life is pure, whose subject senses own him sovereign lord. He, like the moon that wins her way at last from Rahu's jaws, has won supreme release. The foulness which enveloped me, which caused delusion's utter darkness, I dispelled. As, tricked with thousand rays, the beaming sun illumines heaven with a flood of light. After this and renewed utterances of joy, he went to the Lord Buddha and saluted him. The elder monk, too, came, and after due salutation to the master, went away with his co-resident. When news of all this spread among the brethren, they gathered together in the hall of truth, and there sat praising the virtues of the Lord of wisdom, and saying, Sirs, through not knowing the hearts and thoughts of men, the elder monk Sariputra was ignorant of his co-resident's condition. But the master knew, and in a single day gave him arhatship together with perfected scholarship. Oh, how great are the marvelous powers of a Buddha! Entering and taking the seat set ready for him, the master asked, saying, What is the theme of your discourse here in gathering, brethren? Nothing else, Lord Buddha, than this, that you alone had knowledge of the heart, and could read the thoughts, of the co-resident of the captain of the faith. This is no marvel, brethren, that I, as Buddha, should now know that brother's condition. Even in past days I knew it equally well. And, so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares. In those days the bodhisattva used to be the king's director in things worldly and spiritual. At this time folk had washed another horse, a sorry beast, at the bathing place of the king's state horse. And when the groom was for leading the state horse down into the same water, the animal was so offended that he would not go in. So the groom went off to the king and said, Please your majesty, your state horse won't take his bath. Then the king sent the bodhisattva, saying, Do you go, sage, and find out why the animal will not go into the water when they lead him down. Very good, sire, said the bodhisattva, and went his way to the water side. Here he examined the horse. And, finding it was not ailing in any way, he tried to divine what the reason could be. At last he came to the conclusion that some other horse must have been washed at that place, and that the strong horse had taken such offense because of that he would not go into the water. So he asked the grooms what animal they had washed first in the water. Another horse, my lord, an ordinary animal. Ah, it's his self-love that has been offended so deeply that he will not go into the water, said the bodhisattva to himself. The thing to do is to wash him elsewhere. So he said to the groom, A man will tire, my friend, with even the best treatment, if he has it always. And that's how it is with this horse. He has been washed here many times. Take him to other waters, and there bathe and water him. And so saying, he repeated the stanza. Change you the spot, and let the horse drink. Now here, now there, with constant change of scene. For even milk rice cloys a man at last. After listening to his words, they led the horse off elsewhere, and there watered and bathed him all right. And while they were washing the animal down after watering him, the bodhisattva went back to the king. Well, said the king. Has my horse taken his drink and bath, my friend? He has, sire. Why would he not do so at first? For the following reason, said the bodhisattva, and told the king the whole story. What a clever fellow he is, said the king. He can read the mind even of an animal like this. And he gave great honor to the bodhisattva, and when his life closed passed away to fare according to his deeds. The bodhisattva also passed away to fare also according to his deeds. When the master had ended his lesson and had repeated what he had said as to his knowledge, in the past as well as the present, of that brother's condition, he explained the relation, and identified the birth by saying, this brother was the state horse of those days. Ananda was the king and I myself the wise minister. JATAKA number 26. Mahilamukha JATAKA. Through hearing first. This story was told by the master while at the bamboo grove, about Devadatta, who, having secured the adherence of Prince Ajatasattu, had attained both gain and honor. Prince Ajatasattu had a monastery built for Devadatta at Gayasisa, and every day brought to him 500 kettles of perfumed 3-year-old rice flavored with all the choicest flavorings. All this gain and honor brought Devadatta a great following, with whom Devadatta lived on, without ever stirring out of his monastery. At that time there were living in Rajraha city 2 friends, of whom one had taken the vows under the master, while the other had taken them under Devadatta. And these continued to see one another, either casually or by visiting the monasteries. Now one day the disciple of Devadatta said to the other, Sir, why do you daily go round for alms with the sweat streaming off you? Devadatta sits quietly at Gayasisa and feeds on the best of treats, flavored with all the choicest flavorings. There's no way like his. Why breed misery for yourself? Why should it not be a good thing for you to come the first thing in the morning to the monastery at Gayasisa and there drink our rice porridge with a relish after it? Try our 18 kinds of solid dishes, and enjoy our excellent soft food, flavored with all the choicest flavorings. Being pressed time after time to accept the invitation, the other began to want to go, and from then on used to go to Gayasisa and there eat and eat, not forgetting however to return to the bamboo grove at the proper hour. In spite of that he could not keep it secret always. And in a little while it came out that he used to rush off to Gayasisa and there fed himself with the food provided for Devadatta. Accordingly, his friends asked him, saying, Is it true, as they say, that you feed yourself on the food provided for Devadatta? Who said that? Said he. So and so said it. It is true, sirs, that I go to Gayasisa and eat there. But it is not Devadatta who gives me food. Others do that. Sir, Devadatta is the enemy of the Buddhas. In his wickedness, he has secured the adherence of Ajatasattu and by unrighteousness got gain and honor for himself. Yet you who have taken the vows according to this faith which leads to nirvana, eat the food which Devadatta gets by unrighteousness. Come. Let us bring you before the master. And, taking with them the brother, they went to the hall of truth. When the master became aware of their presence, he said, Brethren, are you bringing this brother here against his will? Yes, sir. This brother, after taking the vows under you, eats the food which Devadatta gets by unrighteousness. Is it true, as they say, that you eat the food which Devadatta gets by unrighteousness? It was not Devadatta, sir, that gave it me, but others. Raise no quibbles here, brother, said the master. Devadatta is a man of bad conduct and bad principle. Oh, how could you, who have taken the vows here, eat Devadatta's food, while adhering to my teaching? But you have always been prone to being led away, and have followed in turn every one you meet. And, so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, he bodhisattva became his minister. In those days the king had a state elephant, named Ladyface, who was virtuous and good, and never hurt anybody. Now one day some burglars came close up to the elephant's stall by night and sat down to discuss their plans in these words. This is the way to tunnel into a house. This is the way to break in through the walls. Before carrying off the plunder, the tunnel or breach in the walls should be made as clear and open as a road or a ford. In lifting the goods, you shouldn't stick at murder. For thus there will be none able to resist. A burglar should get rid of all goodness and virtue, and be quite pitiless, a man of cruelty and violence. After having schooled one another in these advices, the burglars took themselves off. The next day too they came. And many other days besides, and held same talk together, till the elephant came to the conclusion that they came expressly to instruct him, and that he must turn pitiless, cruel, and violent. And such indeed he became. No sooner did his mahout appear in the early morning than the elephant took the man in his trunk and dashed him to death on the ground. And in the same way he treated a second, and a third, and every person in turn who came near him. The news was brought to the king that Ladyface had gone mad and was killing everybody that he caught sight of. So the king sent the bodhisattva, saying, Go, sage, and find out what has perverted him. Away went the bodhisattva, and soon satisfied himself that the elephant showed no signs of bodily ailment. As he thought over the possible causes of the change, he came to the conclusion that the elephant must have heard persons talking near him, and have imagined that they were giving him a lesson, and that this was what had perverted the animal. Accordingly, he asked the elephant keepers whether any persons had been talking together recently near the stall by night. Yes, my lord, was the answer. Some burglars came and talked. Then the bodhisattva went and told the king, saying, There is nothing wrong, sire, with the elephant bodily. He has been perverted by overhearing some burglars talk. Well, what is to be done now? Order good men, sages, and Brahmins, to sit in his stall and to talk of goodness. Do so, my friend, said the king. Then the bodhisattva set good men, sages, and Brahmins, in the stall, and asked them to talk of goodness. And they, taking their seats hard by the elephant, spoke as follows, Neither maltreat nor kill. The good should be long-suffering, loving, and merciful. Hearing this the elephant thought they must mean this as a lesson for him, and resolved from then on to become good. And good he became. Well, my friend, said the king to the bodhisattva. Is he good now? Yes, your majesty, said the bodhisattva. Thanks to wise and good men, the elephant who was so perverted has become himself again. And so saying, he repeated the stanza. Through hearing first the burglar's wicked talk, Ladyface ranged abroad to wound and kill. Through hearing, later, wise men's high words, the noble elephant turned good once more. Said the king, he can read the mind even of an animal. And he conferred great honor on the bodhisattva. After living to a good old age, he, with the bodhisattva, passed away to fare according to his deeds. Said the master, in the past, too, you followed everyone you met, brother. Hearing burglars talk, you followed what they said. And hearing the wise and good talk, you followed what they said. His lesson ended, he explained the relation, and identified the birth, by saying, the traitor brother was the Ladyface of those days, Ananda the king, and I myself the minister.